Today's episode of Bears Now is presented to you by Manscaped, all right? If you're a little hairy downstairs, don't worry about it. Manscaped's got you guys covered. Plus, they're offering you a 20% off deal when you go to manscaped.com and you use the promo code BEARS20. I've got all that information for you in the comments and the description of today's show. We'll tell you more about their awesome performance package later on. But first things first, this is not Harrison Graham with just less facial hair. Matthew Peterson filling in for Harrison while he's abroad enjoying his time in Italy. So we're going to break down the latest Bears news and rumors together. Don't worry, you're in good hands. Grew up in the Chicago area. Went to Bears games my whole life growing up, so know a thing or two about the good old Bears. So here's what we got on tap for today's show. A Bears wide receiver was arrested. If you haven't heard, David Moore. We'll break that down, see what the outlook is for him and the team. Plus, could Soldier Field be getting a dome? Well, Mayor Loru Lightfoot is pushing for it in an attempt to keep the Bears in Chicago. But plus, most importantly, guys, we're less than 50,000, less than 1,140 subs away from reaching 50,000 subs. If you love the content that Harry provides here at Bears Now, make sure to hit that big red button and subscribe. All right, let's get into the news of today. Daniel Greenberg reporting that Chicago Bears wide receiver David Moore was arrested on the 4th of July with drug and weapons charges. And Moore is the last of a string of arrests this offseason for the Bears. We'll look at the other guys in just a second. But let's kind of get into the details here of David Moore. Arrested in Gainesville, Texas, his hometown, over 4th of July. Probably the most American thing you can do on the 4th, fall asleep in the drive-through lane of a Taco Bell. That's where he got busted. He signed a one-year contract back in April. Listen, I don't think he's going to be on the Bears roster after this. He's not super high up on the depth chart. We'll look at that in a moment, some of his stats. But when you're the third arrest this offseason, don't you think Ryan Poles, the new GM in Chicago, wants to make a bit of a statement to the rest of the locker room of, listen, no messing around. We're not going to tolerate this type of behavior, especially when you're not really even a top 4 wide receiver on this team. Moore, a former 7th-round pick for the Seahawks, right now somewhere with Daz Newsome at that wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6 range. I'm guessing Poles keeps 5, maybe 6. Let's just assume 6 receivers for argument's sake here. Moore would be on that bubble, but I don't see him surviving this arrest because it's just been one after another this offseason for the Bears roster, and I think Poles will want to make a bit of a statement right here. But looking at this wide receiver room, what's your concern level with it? You know what I mean? Is this a group that you think can help support Justin Fields to take that big step in year 2? Or are you kind of like me, and it's just not looking good, and it's not going to be fun for Fields in year 2 in terms of weapons he has to work with when throwing the football? Scale for me 1 to 100. Personally, I'm at about a 70, and if it wasn't for Darnell Mooney going over 1,000 yards last year and a horrendous Matt Nagy offense, I'd be closer to 30 or 40. But I hope to see the Bears make, I don't know if I want to say attempt to try to bring someone in, but at least look at options, all right? Looking at what David Moore did in his career, though, and what kind of loss they're probably going to experience if he ends up getting released by the Bears. Hell, by the time you're listening to this, he may have already been released here. He's over 1,000 yards in his career, drafted back in 2017. A season ago, he played for the Broncos and the Packers. Didn't make much of an impact or appearance on either of those squads right there. Signed to a 1-year, non-guaranteed contract. Very easy for the Bears to move on from. So if Ryan Poles wants to bring someone in to replace Moore, just to have an extra body in training camp. Because don't forget, you get to have 90 players out, on the field in August. Why not utilize every spot, of course, and every GM does. Will Fuller is an interesting name. When he's healthy, he's very good. Big when. Over 50% of his career, he's been missing football instead of being on the field. Julio Jones, I know Harrison talked about him the other day. I think his best days are behind him. I don't think I'm alone in saying that. Would it be fun if it was 2014? Yes, but it's not. Cole Beasley, Deshaun Jackson, Emmanuel Sanders, also some older veteran free agents that I don't know. I don't know if they're really worth a look at, but maybe just open the docket and see their folder and maybe just call their agent and be like, hey, is Cole still in shape? All right, we'll bring him in for a workout. I think training camp could be a time where Ryan Poles makes a move here. If he's watching practice and St. Brown and some of these other guys, Tajay Sharp, aren't living up to maybe their hopes and aspirations of where they could be by the end of training camp going into the regular season, that could be a time Poles goes, you know what, this wide receiver room just ain't shaking up like how I wanted it to be. Let's bring someone in. Because last year, if you just look at the stat leaders for the Bears wide receiver room right now, we know Darnell Mooney is wide receiver 1 on this team, and he's going to hopefully emerge as a wide receiver 1 across the NFL. Byron Pringle for the Chiefs last season always fell a bit short of hopes and beliefs. I mean, 568 yards and 5 touchdowns with Patrick Mahomes. Let's be honest, Justin Fields is not at Patrick Mahomes' level right now, so how could that change? St. Brown for Green Bay, he was awful. So, and just, I mean, never really emerged much up north. Don't have huge expectations. I'm guessing Velus Jones will be the wide receiver 3 for the Bears coming out of Tennessee. Be the GM for me. Should the Bears sign another wide receiver? Y for yes, N for no. My take on this, if they sign someone after week 1, I'm going to be pretty pissed off, right? If they go through the entire offseason, all the OTAs and minicamp practices, go through training camp and through preseason, and decide after week 1, yeah, after playing the 49ers, we probably could use some help at wide receiver. Let's go sign someone. When you could have done that earlier and given more time for this free agent wide receiver to build a connection with Fields, I'll be a little ticked off at Poles for that. All right, coming up next on today's show, could Soldier Field be getting a bit of a lid on it, a little bit of a roof? We're going to be looking at the latest as Mayor Loru Lightfoot is pushing to add a dome to the stadium. But first, I want to tell everyone about our proud sponsor today, Manscaped. All right, listen. Bush time is not a fun time to have. It's my girlfriend's birthday today. She's going to be getting lots of surprises tonight in terms of presents. One surprise she won't be getting is that scary beast downstairs. Let Manscaped help you out over there. 20% off, free shipping when you go to manscaped.com. Use promo code BEARS20. That link and promo codes in the comments and the description of today's show. Like I said, lots of surprises coming from my girlfriend tonight in terms of presents, but a hairy bush will not be one of them. Also, she's already going to be a little underwhelmed with her present. Don't let your lady friend be underwhelmed with what you got going on down there. Check it out, manscaped.com, promo code BEARS20. Let's talk about Soldier Field. So Lori Lightfoot, and a mayoral committee are looking into adding a dome to Soldier Field. Now, this is an attempt by the city of Chicago to keep the Bears in Chicago and avoid the move to Arlington Heights after rumors turned into some actual progress and action taken to make that happen. And an estimated cost of this, by the way, an important detail for all of you guys watching who live in the city limits in Chicago and live in Cook County, $400 million to about $1.5 billion, so a really small range right there. And yeah, you guessed it, it'll largely be subsidized by taxpayers. Now here's what Lori Lightfoot said. We want the Chicago Bears to stay in the city of Chicago, and we're going to do everything we can to get them here. We're going to make an extraordinary, compelling economic case that makes no sense for them to do anything else but stay in the city of Chicago. Now, if you don't know, the Bears don't actually own Soldier Field, right? They have a lease through the Chicago Park District. I'm guessing they want to maybe use this as a tactic to gain some leverage and hopefully, well, in their eyes, walk away with a greater split or share of the revenue from home games. Unpopular opinion, I think. I like Soldier Field. Like I said, grew up in the Chicago area, Glenview, Illinois. Was fortunate enough to have a father who had Bears season tickets, so we went to Bears games all the time, and I enjoyed going to Soldier Field. I love Bear weather. I love the outdoor games. I don't want a dome. I want like Miami to come to Chicago in December and looking just ridiculous in their candy-ass uniforms and look cold on the sideline, while meanwhile, all the Bears players know what it's like to play outdoors. They practice outdoors at Hallis Hall, and they are accustomed to Bear weather. I know a dome brings a lot of economic bonuses. You can host Final Fours. You can have indoor concerts and all that good stuff. but I want what's best for the Bears. And in this case, it's Bear weather. It's an outdoor stadium. So let me ask this question now. What would you guys do? Would you want to keep Soldier Field how it is? Would you want to build a dome? Or do you want to move to Arlington Heights and just kind of fresh start and bigger new stadium, and it will be the next SoFi and whatnot? Let me know down in the comments what you would do. I think it is important to keep in mind the stadium capacities because this is a big issue for the Bears or for the McCaskies of why they are looking into moving to Arlington Heights and getting a new stadium. Because right now, Soldier Field ranks at the absolute bottom in terms of NFL stadium capacities with an estimated 61,500 people in attendance, right below the Cardinals, the Lions, the Raiders. How did the Raiders just build a new stadium and rank in the bottom 5? I don't really get that. But I think a change will be made in some capacity. Soldier Field is not going to stay the same for the next 10 years without a change happening, whether it's the Bears actually moving to Arlington Heights or whether it's some sort of renovation or a dome being added to it, because let's be honest, a lot of parts of Soldier Field aren't the nicest. It isn't the greatest concourse. There definitely could be some TLC given to it. Now, this is my first time hosting Bears Now, and if you are a part of the FGB movement, you're welcome. That is something Harris and I talk about all the time. My deep hatred for the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, who, if you didn't see, got the weirdest tattoo yesterday. I think he just got super duper high, watched National Treasure a dozen times, and he's like, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to find the Declaration. I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. That's what this tattoo looks like to me. Rodgers never fails to amaze me of how weird he can be, and also should be in jail. Also should have been released. If you remember when the Packers put him on IR like 5 years ago after he came back from an injury, but the Packers were eliminated from the playoffs, look it up. He should have been released if the NFL followed the rules, but they gave the Packers a break. FGB, F Green Bay. I've got my cheese grater. I hate the Packers, so if you do too, spam it down below, FGB. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. I appreciate all of you for joining this edition of Bears Now. Hopefully, I did enough to hold down the boat while Harrison is over across the pond in Italy. But we'll see you later with more Bears news and rumors.